Hello everyone, my name is Emily and this is a Clay Pit Ponds special report coming to you live from Clay Pit Ponds State Park Preserve. Today we're covering the topic of feeding wildlife. Let's turn to our special reporter in the field. Emily?
Thanks, Emily. Feeding animals might seem like a fun activity, but leave it for the petting zoo, folks, because feeding our wildlife neighbors is a bad idea. In the pond behind me, you will often find ducks and geese, popular animals to feed breadcrumbs. But just like you're on that low-carb diet, these birds are not used to eating carb-rich food, and so it can be very unhealthy for them. Feeding animals also creates a dependency for handouts. When animals are fed by humans, it makes animals think that people are a food source instead of foraging for food themselves. This can put yourself and animals at risk. Let's talk to environmental educator Emily. That's right, Emily. Feeding animals is a bad idea. Here on Staten Island, there is a deer overpopulation problem. The large population has caused overgrazing of native plant species. People will sometimes feed these deer thinking they're helping these animals who can't find food, but this is actually hurting deer populations because it creates a dependency on human handouts. By feeding deer and other animals in neighborhoods, you're bringing these animals closer to roads, which can lead to higher traffic collisions and roadkill. Plus, by feeding deer, more deer can be born, which exacerbates the problem. Interesting. But what about bird feeders? Great question, Emily. Bird feeders are a popular way to watch wildlife in the winter. And when done safely, it can be an exception to the don't feed the wildlife rule. Native birds rely on native plants for seeds and berries for food. But with deforestation and deer overgrazing, there is less food available for them, especially in the winter. People can help these birds by providing food in a responsible way. Place bird feeders away from homes and roads so that it limits the interaction with humans. Research what birds are in your neighborhood so that way you can buy the appropriate seed. Generic bags of bird seed often have filler seed, which birds don't eat and will just be left on the ground to rot. And most importantly, plant native plants so that you can naturally provide food for birds. Fascinating. Thank you, environmental educator Emily. This has been Special Reporter Emily. Back to you, Emily.
That's some great advice, Emily. Thanks for clearing that up. This has been a Clay Pit Ponds special report. Tune in next week as we learn how releasing your unwanted pet in the wild can turn into an ecological disaster. Stay safe, folks.